Hey there and welcome back to another episode of our shell scripting course. In today's episode, we will be learning a very important topic, the quoting mechanism of the Linux shell. Quoting is a very important and crucial aspect of Linux shell functionality. You can get into a lot of troubles if you don't understand all the nuances of quoting. And if you are a beginner who is just starting out, it can really become a roadblock in your learning journey. But don't worry, even if you are starting new, I am here to help you. My name is Om Singh, your host and instructor, and in today's video, we will be covering all the major aspects of quoting mechanism of the Linux shell. From the usage of quotes to why are they important, what difference they create, different type of quotes such as single quotes, double quotes, backslashes, how to decide when to use which quotes, and so on. Now, as always, I'm not going to waste your time, but if this video does help you out, please consider dropping a like and subscribe to my channel. So, without wasting much further time, let's get started. So, what is quoting? In our normal day-to-day life, the usage of quotes is quite normal. They are generally used as apostrophes for quoting speech or text and various other usage. But in the small world of shell scripting, quotation marks serves a distinct purpose. Their role is not just to add fancy punctuation marks, but to ensure that your command and variables are interpreted correctly by the shell. Think of it like the difference between giving someone a letter in an envelope versus handing it over bare-handed. Without an envelope, all the contents are exposed and can easily be altered. Similar in shell scripting, quotes act as an envelope for your command and variables, ensuring that they are interpreted exactly as intended without being modified or misinterpreted by the shell. At its core, quoting involves enclosing characters, strings, or expression within specific symbols. So when you use quotes around a string, you are literally telling the shell, this is exactly what I mean, no more, no less. And if you are not familiar with the term string, in shell scripting, a string is typically a collection of characters which may include letters, numbers, and symbols. So if I sum up what quoting is, it is a generic name given to the action of protecting strings such as variables and commands, usually by surrounding them with quotes or backslashes, thus preventing them from reinterpretation or expansion by the shell or shell script. Now you may wonder, why do we need to protect our command and variables from the shell? I mean, we understand what quoting is, but why do we need it? Is the Linux shell broken that it keeps reinterpreting the original message into something else? Now, to understand the answer to this question, first we need to understand a new term, meta characters. So in Linux, meta characters, also known as special characters, are symbols with unique message. These symbols are not interpreted literally, like normal text characters. Rather, they have reserved meaning that the shell interprets itself for specific purposes. Now, sometimes it may happen that we don't want our meta character to get treated specially by the shell. So at such times, we take the help of quotation marks. Because if you don't, they will cause unexpected behavior in your scripts and commands. Thus, we have to put quotes around these meta characters, indicating to the shell that they are not special and should be treated as a single unbroken unit of text, thus protecting its literal meaning. Here are some examples of important meta characters. Let us take the example of the hash symbol. So hash symbol is a meta character, and as we discussed in the previous videos, the hash symbol has a specific meaning to the shell. It is used to denote comments in a shell script, which means any text that follows the hash symbol on the same line is ignored by the shell. This is useful for adding notes or explanation within your scripts. However, if you try to use the hash symbol in a command or a string, the shell will interpret it as the start of a command and will ignore the rest of line. Now let us go to our computer system and see it out ourselves.
So let's say, for example, I want to echo a string which say to leave a message, press the hash key on your phone. So if I echo this sentence, you can see that the letters after the hash signs are not being displayed for the very fact that the bash is interpreting the letters after the hash sign as comment. Thus, to overcome such issues in shell scripting, we use quotes. So if I enclose this sentence inside quotes, so echo starting quote to leave a message, press the hash key on your phone and then ending quote. And now if I execute this, you can see that now we have used quotes around the string. All the special meaning and function of the hash signs has been stripped away. And when a meta character is treated exactly as they appear without any special interpretation or processing, it is called a literal string. Similar to this example, there are many occasions where the goal is to display these characters exactly as they are without invoking their special functions. This is where quotation comes in handy. So this was one of the reasons to use quotes around a string. Another important reason to use quotes is to preserve white space characters. In Linux, if you want to preserve blank spaces as literals, you may have to use quotes. For instance, if you want to create a file with a space in the name, you have to use quotes. Let's take an example. So I want to create one single file and I want to name it blank file. And the condition is there should be no space in between these two keywords, blank and file. So if I pass the command touch blank file, and then hit enter, and then if I do ls, you can see instead of creating one single file named blank file, it created two separate files, file number 1 blank and file number 2 file. But that's not the result we wanted. So why it's happening? This is happening because in Linux, white spaces or spaces are considered as special characters and are used to separate arguments. So shell will break an argument or command into two separate words if there is space in between. And since our file name consists of white space, shell considered them as two separate commands and executed them to produce this result. So what's the solution to this problem? Obviously, quoting. Using quotes will preserve the white space of any character. So if I pass the command touch and then inside quotes I write the name of the file. So let's say new file. And then if I execute it and if I type ls, you can see the difference in two results. Since we encapsulated our file name inside quotes, it started treating it as one single argument and created a single file name, new file. This white space preservation not only works in file name but also with path or any string that contains spaces. Let's take one more example. First, let me clear the terminal. Now this time I will pass an echo statement with a string which says I love cheesecake. Okay. Now what I will do is I will put some white space in between these characters. Okay. So here and here. Okay. And now if we execute it, you can see the shell did not preserve the extra spaces. It interpreted the multiple spaces between the words as a single space. Now this time let us use quotes around the string. So echo I spaces love, then again some space, cheesecake, ending quote, hit enter, and you can see this time the extra spaces are being preserved by the shell. This is why quotes are so important in shell scripting. They allow us to work with strings that contain spaces or other special characters and ensure that our commands and variables are interpreted exactly as we intended, avoiding unnecessary shell interpretation. Now let's talk about the types of quoting mechanism that we have and when to use which one. So in the Linux shell, we generally have three types of quoting mechanism: escape characters, double quotes, and single quotes. But we also have a fourth option, and technically it's not considered a quoting mechanism, and that is backslash. So let's go one by one on all the four options that we have available. So let us start with backslash. So backslash in Linux is an escape character. And very interestingly, it is the strongest method to control the interpretation. So if you place a backslash in front of any meta character, it will strip down its special interpretation. For example, let us try to echo a statement. So echo, I don't want to go. Let's execute it. So you can see we are getting a code prompt instead of the statement. And this is happening because the shell is thinking that we will complete the statement with an ending single quote right here. So what's the solution? Put a backslash just before the single quote to nullify its special interpretation. Let us try it out. So let's come back, and this time echo I don't, and before using the single quote I will put a backslash to nullify its special interpretation. So don't want to go. You can see it also changed color this time. Okay, now if I execute it, so hit enter. So here is our sentence. Let's take one more example. So here I want to list a text file which name is new file. Okay, but as you can see, the file name is separated by space. And as we learned, white space in Linux is used to separate two arguments, which means we have to strip down the special meaning of the white space character. So we will use backslash to skip it. But first, let us execute this command, okay? So if I hit enter, you can see we are getting one error and we are getting one result. So error says cannot access new. And on the other line, we are getting the detail of file. So what's happening? Now, as I told you, white space is used to separate two arguments. So ls is executing the file command and is avoiding the new command. So it is giving us this error. Now, if you use backslash to escape the white space, let's see what happens. So this time I will pass the command ls, l, new, and here we will use the backslash. So backslash and then space. So as we are using backslash, so this will tell the shell to not interpret this space, okay? And then I can write the next word, so file. And now if I hit enter, see, this time our command got executed successfully. So if you put backslash in front of any special character, it will lose its special meaning and will be treated as normal character by the shell. Another use of backslash is for line continuation. Imagine you have a very long command or sentence that you want to write in the terminal or on the script. Of course, you can write the whole command or sentence in one single line, but it will look messy and can be difficult to read. So what we can do is we can insert a line break with the help of backslash. So if you have a long command that you want to break into multiple different lines, you can use backslash. It will allow you to continue your command or sentence on a new line without actually breaking the format. So for example, if I echo, I went to 1 month trip to 3 different countries. Now from here, I will insert line break. So backslash. Now as you have seen previously, as soon as we hit enter, the shell executes a command. But because this time we have used a line break, now if I hit enter, so you can see this time we are getting an option to insert a new line. So after this greater than sign, you can enter your new line which will stay in your same format. Okay, so let me write United States of America. I will put a comma, a space, and then again I will enter a line break. So backslash. And if I hit enter, we are getting the same option to enter one more new line. So this time I will write Canada, comma, space, then again a line break and hit enter. Now this time I will write, let's say, Mexico. Okay. So now this time I will finally hit enter without introducing a line break. So as soon as I hit enter, our command will get executed. So enter. So you can see our command got executed successfully in one single line. Now with all the pros, backslash has its own limitation. It can only cancel out the special meaning of its immediate character. So every time a new special character comes up, you have to add a new backslash. So imagine a string containing multiple special characters and you want to rule them out as normal characters. So each time you have to add a new backslash. Obviously it will work, but it will become very difficult and can also increase the chances of errors. Let's see an example. So I have two characters A and B and I want to echo them. But the catch is they contain 7 spaces in between them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So if I say 7 spaces, it means 7 special white space characters. And if we want to echo them as normal string, then we need to strip away their special interpretation. So one way is to add 7 backslashes before the white spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now, however ugly it looks, but it works. So if you are okay with it, it's fine. Or we can use an alternative quoting mechanism that we have at our disposal, which brings us to our next quoting mechanism, and that is double quotes. But before that, I have a question for you. Where should we backslash? You can backslash before any special character, as it will nullify the special abilities of all the special character, even itself. But obviously when it comes to dealing with multiple special characters, you should try to avoid it. Now let's try to use double quotes in this example. So here if I use double quotes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces, then the next character B and then the ending double quote. So now if I hit enter, you can see that the string is preserved exactly as it is without much hassle of putting several backslashes. Basically, double quotes keep the text intact and do not allow the bash to split the text at spaces and treat it as multiple arguments. Let's talk about double quotes a bit more. So double quotes are often referred to as partial quoting or weak quoting, because while they do stop most of the interpretation of special characters, there are some exceptions. And these are $, backtick, backslash, exclamation mark, and double quotes itself. So if you try quoting these characters with double quotes, so double quotes won't be able to stop the interpretation of these characters. Other than these, all the special characters would be treated as literal inside double quotes. Let's take an example of the $sign for better explanation. So $sign in Linux is generally used to reference a variable. We will be covering the variable chapter in our next video, but just for now, bear with it. So if you have created a variable, you might want to put it inside double quotes to ensure that they are interpreted correctly by the shell. When you use a variable in shell command or script without a quotation mark, the shell will expand the variable. This can cause problem if the variable contains spaces or special character. Let's take an example. So let's create a variable to call out name. So name, and then we will assign it a value. So let's say avexten. Hit enter and the value avexten is assigned to our name variable. Now let us echo the variable which we just created with a sentence. So echo welcome to $name, ending double quotes, and then hit enter. And you can see it says welcome to avexten. Now let's echo the same statement but with the hash mark. Okay, so echo welcome to hash mark, then $name, ending double quotes, hit enter. And you can see it says welcome to your hash sign and then avexten. So what these two sentences prove to us? See, in the first sentence where we did not have a hash sign, you can see while the $sign is also a special character, it was executed inside the double quotes. But in our second sentence, you can see the hash mark is treated as a regular character here, whereas the $sign is used to reference the variable because we have quoted the sentence inside the double quotes. So every special character inside double quotes is treated as literals, leaving those 5 special characters, which also includes your $sign. Let's see what happens when we don't quote the variable value. So echo welcome to hashtag $name. So hit enter. So you can see without the double quotes, the hash sign is interpreted as the special character and rest of our characters are commented out. Now, if your variable value contain more than a single word or contain spaces like this, you have to use double quotes. If you don't use the double quotes, bash will assign the first value, like in this case fextend, to our variable name and will try to execute the character YouTube as a command, and you will get an error. See, we got an error message saying command not found. So make sure you use double quotes around the variable value. So fextend YouTube, hit enter. See, no error this time. Now, what if you want to use double quotes as a literal itself? Let's say I want to introduce double quotes around the variable name as literal. So, welcome to, then here I will use double quotes, then name, and then again one double quote. So what I'm trying to do is use double quotes inside double quotes, also known as nested quotes. So let's try to do it. So if I hit enter, you can see we did not got any error, but also we did not got double quotes as literals around the variable. So to solve this problem, we can use backslash before the double quotes. Since backslash is an exception and is not converted to literal, we can easily use them inside double quotes. So if we add backslash, welcome to, now here I will introduce a backslash, then the double quotes, then $name, then again a backslash with a double quote, and then finally the ending double quote of the statement. So if I hit enter, you can see the backslash disabled the interpretation of double quote, and this time it got printed as literal inside our sentence. Now let's talk about single quotes. So single quotes are just like double quotes. It will preserve space, but single quote does not allow any special character interpretation. Thus, it is also known as strong quoting or full quoting in Linux shell. Single quotes preserve the literal value of all the characters enclosed within the single quotes. This means when you enclose a string in a single quote, the shell interprets every character as it is. No variable substitution or interpretation will occur within the single quotes, even for $sign, backtick, backslash, double quotes, and exclamation mark, except single quotes. Single quotes are exceptions within themselves. A single quote inside a pair of single quotes will be interpreted by the shell. So any special character that is enclosed inside the single quotes other than the single quote itself will be treated as a literal string by the shell. For example, if we have a variable, say name, we assign a value to it, and then if we try to reference the variable within single quotes like this, so echo welcome to name. So we are using single quotes, okay? And if we execute this, the output is welcome to $name. This is because the $sign is treated as a literal within the single quotes. Let's take another example. So Linux contains something called as inbuilt variables, also known as environment variable. So for example, a commonly used environment variable is path. So $path. So $path holds the name of directory where the shell looks for executable files. So let's try to echo the $path variable under the single quotes as well as double quotes. So first we will do is echo single quote, hit enter. So you can see the result. The output is $path as a string, not the value of the path variable. Now let us try to execute the same with double quotes. So echo double quote $path, hit enter. So you can see this time we got the actual value of the path variable inside the double quotes. So when to use single quotes? So if you are sure that you want to avoid all the shell interpretation of a special character, then you can use single quotes. And when not to use a single quote? See, one reason of not using single quotes can be when you want to use single quotes inside single quotes. Let me show you an example. So I will pass an echo statement which says echo, and I will use single quotes around this statement. So single quote and then the statement. So let's see if this will work, and the ending single quote. Can you see the difference in color pattern? Can you notice what is happening? So as I told you, single quote is the only special character which gets interpreted inside the single quote. So I want to consider this single quote as the starting point and this as the ending point. But what shell is interpreting is that this is the starting point of the single quote and this is the ending point. So if I execute this echo statement, you can see the single quotes of the sentence has been removed, which we want to consider as literals. So what we can do? You might say, we can use backslash. Let's try it out. So if I try to use a backslash here, and if I hit enter, we are getting the quote prompt. Now why is this happening? So as I just told you, every special character inside the single quotes get literally interpreted except the single quote itself. So since we use a backslash inside single quote, it does not hold any value to the shell. So what's the solution? So the solution is that we can use double quotes instead of single quotes here. So let me show you. So echo. Now this time I will use double quotes. Let's see if this will work. Hit enter and you can see it worked. So we all know how to execute a command in Linux. One way is through the terminal, where we open our terminal, pass our command and then execute it. Another way is to write a shell script and then execute it directly. But what if I ask you to execute a command within a string, whether from the terminal or the script itself? Let's try it out. So for example, let's take the pwd command. So we all know pwd stands for print working directory. So if we attempt to include this command inside a string, will it work? Let's see. So I will write a echo statement. So echo your current directory is pwd. So what we want from this echo statement is when the shell executes the echo statement, it should also execute this pwd command, and whatever the result comes out should replace the pwd placeholder in the string. Okay, so let's execute it. So hit enter. So it says your current directory is pwd. Oh, it simply printed the string and our pwd command was not interpreted by the shell. So what should we do? So under such conditions, we take the help of a Linux feature known as command substitution. So in Linux, command substitution is a process in which we take the help of backquote character or $parenthesis to tell the shell to consider specific strings as a command and execute it and capture its output. This output can be further used in other commands or string. So like we just saw in previous 3 quotation mark, there we tell the shell to ignore the special character interpretation. Whereas in command substitution, we instruct the shell to interpret a specific string as a command and execute it. There we prevent the interpretation. Here we want the interpretation to happen. Now let us apply this command substitution to our example. So if we modify our echo statement a bit by using $parenthesis, so $parenthesis. Now let's execute it. So as you can see here, this time the shell executed the pwd command and printed our current directory, and that is /home/kali. Now like we used the $parenthesis for the command substitution, we can also use the backtick character. Now be aware, this is a backtick character, not the single quote character. Many people confuse it with a single quote. You can find this character on your keyboard, usually on the same key as the tilde. It is located at the top left of your keyboard, below the escape key on most of the keyboard layouts. So let's echo this statement with the backtick character. So echo your current directory is backquote pwd, and we have to also end with another backquote character. Okay, now let's hit enter. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the double quotes. Okay, now this time if I hit enter, and you can see we got the same result. Your current directory is /home/kali. Let's try one more example. So in Linux, we have a date command. If you execute it, it will show you the current date and time. Now let's try it with a string. So echo today's date and time is dollar parenthesis date, ending double quotes, and then hit enter. So you can see it gives out a statement saying today's date and time is Friday, April 19th, and the time 2024. So that's it for the video, guys. If this video does help you out, please consider dropping a like and subscribe to my channel, as it helps us keep motivated and create more content for you guys for free.